Okay, let's see if this thing's actually live. Let's see. Testing audio. Okay, well. Okay, it sounds decent, so I guess we'll just get into it. I don't really have a plan for this other than doing some level design. If you haven't seen the last couple videos on the channel, this is Thwimbly. This is the indie game that I'm working on. I've been working on it for, yikes, probably like summer of 2021. So we're coming up on 5 years, and really hoping to kind of get a lot of the rest of it taken care of before the end of the year, hopefully. So we'll see exactly how long it takes me to do a lot of this. But yeah, so the main thing that I really wanted to take care of was doing some more level design. This part 1 over here, this is world 1. This is all of the content that's available in the demo right now, or at least pretty close to it. I was doing some boss testing in that level that I need to undo before the next version. But yeah, let me see. I need to make sure. There we go. So main goal for this stream is to get some sort of a block out done for level 2. This is world 2, level 2. It's kind of a creepy forest, and then it turns into sort of like a library. There's some sort of a bubblegum incident that's left the floors all sticky, and there's some mystery afoot. So I'm redoing a lot of these levels. They were some of the earliest levels in the current iteration of the game, and really just needed to sort of sort out how I'm actually going to design all these levels. So redoing these levels here. I just finished part 1, or level 1 from world 2. We have these, I can actually just show you. I need to rename all these levels. That's still on the to-do list. They're pointing to 2 different places. But we got these platforms, these mushrooms that you fall through when you're standing on them. So you have like kind of a timer to go on. These are really old. They've been here for forever, pretty much. One of the first things I programmed for the game, I think probably back in 2021 or 2022. So it kind of imposes a timer on the player. The player has to spend some time, or they can't spend too much time on there, otherwise they'll fall through. Maybe you should add some sort of a saving section down here, because if you're not paying attention, you can fall, and you might think that you might think you can get down to those on-off switches down there, but we'll see. Can you make that jump? Yes, you can, if you have P speed. Yeah, I'm trying to hit the balance between making these levels too difficult and too easy. I've been playing this game for, many years at this point, and so I've kind of gotten a pretty decent understanding of how to move about in it, even if I keep rewriting the physics engine and movement. So there's an easy way. You can go around here and wait, or you can try and cut it like I did last time, and that might cause you problems. I need to get rid of that dark zone, move the coins. But yeah, so that's level 1. And now we move on to level 2, which if I load into it, will just immediately die because there is no floor. I do kind of like how glitchy and broken the death animation is when you die immediately. I do need to fix that though. That's got to get fixed at some point. So, let's see. Let's get sort of a mechanic palette here. What were the mechanics I was planning on using? These guys, these are little walking, they're called monsters. They're little walking guys that cause all sorts of problems and you got to avoid. I was going to do them. The plan for this level, this is level 3. This is once you actually get to the library. So the kind of plot idea here is Thwimbly, the main character, and Vina, one of the side characters, are trekking through this zone to try and get to this sort of library. And when they get to the library, it's full of all this bubble gum. Someone's been making a really big mess of the library, and all the floors and walls are sticky, and you'll have to utilize that to get around. And then we get to later on in the level, we have these, where are they? Boxes. These are throwable boxes that the player can pick up and chuck around and really use to get to higher places. They stack on top of each other. So that's for 2-3. 2-4 is Marie. I'll show off Marie. I'm very, very happy with how Marie turned out. It's a play on the phrase "Hi Mari," which is a character, or not a character, but a maker for Super Mario World. What did I do wrong? We're missing some tiles here. I have to manually set each graphic for each world because of the way that the engine works. And I guess I did not do that. But let me attempt to explain this while being chased by Marie. There's a thing called a Hi Mario orb in the Super Mario World community where there's this orb that chases you and you have to avoid. And I thought, oh, hi Marie, hi Mari, they kind of sound similar, so we'll make a character called Marie. She's the librarian. And she's very upset because someone's putting bubblegum all over the place. This is the boss. It's very unfinished. You can break off her glasses. I don't think this... Oh, it does have hitboxes. Never mind. This was something I was working on 4 or 5 months ago, and then ended up doing a game jam and got distracted and have been focused mostly on level design at this point. That is an unfinished graphic that needs to get replaced. But, okay, so that's kind of the gimmick for level 3, or level 4. This is the one that needs to... This is all going to probably get remade. A lot of it's very ugly. It doesn't utilize basically any of the mechanics from the world. We've got these little circling plant guys and these sticky floors. I don't know why I was pointing at the bookshelves, but... So, we got these walking plant guys. I want to sort of start slowly introducing them. We could introduce the bats. These are sort of bat-inspired ones. I don't think I'm going to do that yet. We got walking bounce pads. These walk back and forth, and you can bounce on top of them. Those would be kind of cool to add. And there was one other thing that I also introduced in the last version of this before I deleted everything and started over. Let's see. So we got propeller caps. These aren't being used in the game. They were very glitchy and I couldn't make them work consistently. Not that there's... I mean, I've already got more than enough mechanics to actually like build this entire game. I just need to find the right place to introduce them. Let's see, we got on-off switches. On-off switches are pretty much always in these levels. platforms, those are world 4. Cannons, those are world 6. Let's try and come up with something interesting with the walking bounce flowers. I think that would be... That's the one that I think I can probably come up with stuff the easiest for. So let's get some ground here. The way I usually design these levels is I slam down just a bunch of sort of like these basic primitive square tiles, and I could do sort of like a cavern idea here. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll just sort of block that in like that. I don't know if that's going to be used for anything or if I'll just hide some coins down there. You know, let's pick that. Let's move that over here. Set that down there. Then what we can do is... Goal right now is to just work very, very quick, very, very optimized. You know what? Yeah, we'll come back around from the other side to do that. This guy will walk back and forth until it hits a wall, so we kind of have to box it in like this. So we'll give the player a way to get up there. Come back and beautify this later. I will snag a tree. We'll just copy that tree for right now. I'll come back and make it prettier later. So this is supposed to be sort of a continuation of World 1, but instead of it being sort of autumnal, it's this sort of creepy, eerie forest, you know, very like sort of snarled dead branches, something you'd see outside of like a, you know, like a Dracula castle or something like that. It's the wrong one. So I like sort of boxing it in and then going back through and cleaning it up with this. I find that the negative space that the pure gray leaves makes everything read a lot nicer. I guess technically there's no reason that I need to do the boxes at all. But I do kind of like the way that it feels. And then just to give this a little bit more shape, we'll pull that wall in. Maybe we'll pull it out just a little bit more. So that kind of incentivizes the player to try bouncing up here. I'll add a preemptive Vina. Vina's kind of the co-star of the game, and she's there mostly to like explain the different mechanics and kind of tell the player what's harmful and what's not. But I was very concerned about players getting upset with her and like not enjoying her, so all of her dialogue is pretty much optional, at least the stuff that stops the game. I've played enough games where the players were very annoying, or not the players, but the characters were very annoying, and I do not want to repeat that here. So the goal is this guy kind of walks back and forth, the player has to stand there and then bounce up, and we'll get bounced up onto some one-way platforms, and then the player can choose to jump back down there. You know, I wonder, let's try something. Let's extend this tree. Let's extend this tree a lot. We'll get rid of these leaves right here are the ones that spawn the fancy animated tree stuff. But I'm going to get rid of those for right now. This is going to be a really big tree, which is fine. Would it look better if I kind of gave it... we'll leave it for right now. I can fix it later. It might look better if I was going to make some kind of I wish I had more tiles. This is all the tiles I get that I can place in the map. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 tiles left. I can do 8 more tiles. There's a handful of these that aren't necessary, like this big rock I could probably get rid of without losing too much. Honestly, does that have... Yeah, the big rock I don't think is necessary. It's not like it's adding anything. I could also get rid of the spider web. That's kind of from an older version of this where it was... I was trying to make it a lot more like Vampire Castle before the plot sort of solidified into the library angle. 9. There might be... There's like 10 or 15 tiles. Some of these other tile sets, I just went through and cleared out a bunch of unused space over here, but like this is a almost completely full tile set. There's so much room here. I don't know what this solid green tile is for. Is that for... This is me getting distracted now. I think I was trying to do a fancy trash can somewhere. I don't know where that trash can was. Some of this stuff needs to get optimized and polished too, but over the past couple months I've really just been attempting to sort of focus on optimizing and redesigning a bunch of the levels that were pretty bad. The thing that I keep running into is that the level design for Thwimbly needs to be very, very specific. You can see up here, this is all the map space I have access to. It's 2 screens tall, 8 screens long, and each world or bank is limited to its own thing, its own bank, and that has a separate collection of audio files and graphics and all of that fun stuff. And the problem with that is that there's a lot of limitations there. So like I would love to be able to utilize some of these tiles, especially like these brick tiles from later on in the world. I would love to use some of these brick tiles in World 1. I think that would really let me do some cool things. I'd love to have more of that. But this is a fantasy console. It's very similar to Pico 8, if you're familiar with Pico 8. And that means that it's got limitations. It's got things you can, things you can't do, and you got to work around them. Thwimbly is already really pushing it, at least in terms of like the graphics. I'm using pretty much every trick in the book to squeeze these graphics out of here. You're limited to 16 colors, and I'm very specifically selecting ramps that will let me do only a couple things. So all of the tiles are in bank 0, all of the characters are in bank 1. So that's why you have like, that's why everything up here looks all messed up and everything down here looks more or less all right. Yeah. So what was I doing? This is how it always goes. Honestly, attempting to stream is making me a little bit less likely to just go off and start scrolling for new music on YouTube or something. So all the music that you're hearing on stream is all original stuff because it's less likely to get content ID'd. So it's all stuff that I've written over the last few years. Eventually it'd be cool to curate a whole bunch of other stuff, find a bunch of artists that let their stuff be Creative Commons and all that fun stuff. I should go listen to Night Mode stuff again. I remember liking some of their music a few years ago. This is not the level I was supposed to be designing. We're supposed to be designing this level. What I was going to do before I interrupted myself, which this happens kind of frequently, is I wanted to have some sort of like a tree branch that you could walk on. So maybe we'll do this. We'll grab, you know what I have. Let's pick something else. I should not have put anything from this album on here. Crib speaker's fine. Cool. I was not planning on streaming today. I was planning on just doing game dev, and then I just sort of decided, you know what? Let's try the live stream thing. I haven't live streamed in like 4 years. I think it was like 2021 or 2022. It's been a very long time since I streamed last, but I don't know. It's probably fun. I'm having a good time. That's what matters. Tree branches, that's what I was doing. So let's take this tile. This is sort of supposed to be like a grass tile. And we can do... Let's erase the bottom of it. Let's add a little bit of that. We can add some of these square things. That's kind of how I've been denoting leaves. You know what? No, let's do this from scratch. We'll draw that, and then that, and then that, and then we can do that. I wish I had a third green. That would be really nice. Maybe I'll make it sort of. That I think is good, but it doesn't scream like this is a standable platform. Could I do something like, no, that looks bad. I mean, that, honestly, I need to get that part play tested by somebody to see if these actually read as platforms. I think they will, because like in context, especially actually. There we go. I think that'll make it read a lot better. And then just to prevent this from looking too symmetric, let's move that one down. It'll make that jump a little bit easier too. I am a little concerned about this one feeling too like repetitive and samey. That's still a makeable jump. Can do that. I think that makes things a little bit more interesting. We were making tiles. That's what we were doing. Go back to the zone. That almost reads the way I want it to. Hold on, let me get that off of the screen boundary so that it's a little easier to see. I don't know if I can actually change the way that those screen boundaries render. I wonder, let's edit this graphic here so that we kind of have a little bit more kind of at that boundary, so it could kind of look like it's this sort of like mangled, twisted, weird shape. It's days like this that I really, really wish that this game was not made in a fantasy console. Honestly, that doesn't look terrible right there. And then I could do that. That looks kind of nice, actually. Let's do that. We can do... Yeah, that's halfway decent. Let's see. Can I do... No, that looks bad. It's one of the big problems that I've been having with this game is the graphics are really pushing the colors and the way that the colors are being used screams something a lot more powerful than an NES. I think in some ways the colors are even a little bit more advanced than like some Super Nintendo games. Or at least like they're kind of pushing that level. But the way that I'm so limited on these tiles, it is very similar to the NES. I spent so much time yesterday trying to track down an old picture of an unfinished Castlevania ROM hack. That had really, really good, like, snarled trees. I was using it as a reference image back in, like, 2020, 2022, 2023. And at some point, I lost the link for it. And despite using, like, 3 search engines and spending a ton of time just, like, scrolling through the as many Castlevania ROM hack tags as I could think of on Tumblr, I could not find it, and I ended up just giving up. That should... Let's change that. That needs to be the slightly brighter shade of gray. That looks kind of nice. Get these mushrooms in here. I need a few more of those kinds of things, just like little messy greebles, I guess. I probably don't need these vines either, but they do kind of add something when I get around to them. Oh, I didn't realize that one could be used as a floor tile. Does that go well with... Almost. I need to redesign it. That's a really old tile. That's from 2 or 3 years ago. You know what? Yeah. We'll do that right now. Nope. Okay, whatever. That's fine. Do that, maybe? You know what? Delete the whole thing. Start over. We need a strip at the top of this brighter color. It's almost decent. I think I need less of the dark green. If I do that, yeah, we're just trying to imply the sense of shadow. I think that looks better. Is that... Yes, it is. If it's got this 0 here, that means it's denoted as a solid tile. Solid, I think, is the only one that works for that. Is this... Okay, solid and these grid tiles are the only ones that are actually using the flag system. The flags, I don't remember if this, like, 0 through 7 tile flag system was incorporated in Tick when the game started, or at the very least the tutorial I was using when I was programming this in 2021 did not use the flags. They were using you were individually mapping each tile as a Boolean value in a table. Where is it? Yeah, up flips. Yeah, so these are the gravity shift tiles that flip you upwards, and I haven't gotten around to converting everything over. That's the ever-present problem with this project, is trying to figure out, do I fix this? Do I change the thing that I know is really bad? Or do I just continue, finish the project, and then fix it in the next thing? The entity system. At some point, I need to make a video about the entity system, because the entity system is extremely bad. It works. It's great. Like it's handling all the entities, but it's so many if statements. It would make anyone who's making it's like rage bait levels of bad programming. I'll completely own up to that. That was back when I didn't have the slightest clue what I was doing. Speaking of not having the slightest clue what I was doing, let's take this, let's do that, and then let's mirror it. We can mirror it. We'll make a couple of adjustments so it doesn't look nearly as copy-pasty as it otherwise might. Not that color. I think these colors are too close to each other to really be doing that much interesting stuff with, but it does make the backgrounds look a lot nicer. Yeah, I think that looks good. I mean, I don't think these are going to be used as an integral part of the platforming. I think they're mostly going to be here for secrets, especially because if I push them too close to the tree circles, they're going to get overwritten, because the tree circles render on the foreground layer, and tiles by necessity have to render on the background layer. Can I just copy paste that? Does that actually look good? Oh yeah, no, that looks great. That's really good, actually. Let's move you up here. What I kind of want is I want an optional sort of side activity that looks decent enough. I'll leave that for right now. Maybe if I add that. Nope. It's an exercise in being economical with the tiles. What was I looking for? I was looking for something that... Okay, there's nothing that's actually going to do what I want it to do there. But I think that if I take this and I push it all the way out here, that will let me get away with... Yeah, that'll be good. So then the player can jump from here to here to here to here. We'll grab another one of these. We'll push that. Actually, no. Let's do that. We'll push that up. Do that. The problem with these tree circles is we can actually see what it looks like right now. They are randomly generated. Every time you boot them up, they're based on like a seeded random. Okay. No, that actually doesn't look too bad. I did not add them to the one-way platform thing. So 126, 127. Hold on. We're already in the right area. This is why development of this game has taken so long, is because this was the first major game that I ever did. Right? It's 127, 128? 126, 127. Okay. It's because I didn't know what I was doing, and this game was originally supposed to just be a basic tech demo to see, could I program a decent jump arc? And unfortunately, I was able to program a decent jump arc. I need a comma there. This is absolutely not the way to do it. I should be converting these over to flags at some point so that they're using like flag 1, I think. There's the fget function in tick that I should be using, but I don't know, it works. It's not like I'm running out of code space or anything. Okay, so let's give that another try. Let's just see if the... I recently changed the way that Thwimbly's legs render, so they're actually like a good walk cycle now. Previously, they were like procedural lines that would be drawn. And you can see the legs on this walking flower are just the most NES, you know, Atari type animation. It's literally 2 frames. So I need to copy over the code from Thwimbly. But this isn't too bad. Maybe I'll get rid of that intermediary step and you'll just jump from here to... it's a little spicy. If I lower this by 1 tile, I can get rid of that and then I'll replace it with this. I'll move that 1 lower just so that it's less likely to conflict with this. I don't think it's rendering the actual tile, so maybe I'll add like a special color into that tile. I think the reason it's not... yeah, it's just the circles. Where is it? This one. Let's give it like a gold circle so that you know that one's an entity. Do that, and then we'll do that. We can grab this. Actually, let's move this one in more. We can move this one out more just to mix it up. Just gonna copy that bit wholesale. We'll get rid of that. We'll move that over here. This can go over here, and hopefully that's out of the range of this. And then what that's going to let me do is... do like a little alcove thing here. Just checking. I'll come back and make this prettier in a second, but for now... The thing that is nice about this compared to something compared to like another tile editor is that it is kind of nice having everything be all on the exact same tile. Everything's on the same layer is what I'm trying to say and failing. There it is. So one of the things that I've really been trying to do is give depth to these sorts of areas. So if I take this, sure, that's a rock formation. We'll fill it in. Everything kind of looks flat, right? Let's ignore that because that's giving away what I'm going to be trying to do. So we'll take this, right? We've got this sort of ugly zone. It's not bad, but one of the things that's really going to make it look better is if I take this and I'm just going to give this a little bit of a drop shadow. Anywhere where there's an overhang, there's going to be 2 tiles worth of shadow. And already that kind of is giving some depth, right? We can kind of start to almost like paint and be a little painterly with with things. Let's get rid of those. Those ones I don't want to actually like imply like total darkness. So we'll grab some of these tiles and we can kind of imply some shadowing with the rocks. I kind of want this area to feel a little darker. We're basically doing the laziest type of baked lighting. We're just sort of building it into our tile set entirely. So if I do this, dun dun, dun dun, it kind of gives that something. One thing I forgot is that we're going to also have to, if we're going to put coins in here, the way that the coins work is they pull from the nearby tiles. So whatever this tile is to the direct right of the entity is going to be what's placed behind it, because we're working on a single layer. And in order to be able to do that, we have to have some system for replacing the tiles. That's all dynamically done. Honestly, that was one of the things I figured out back in 2021. And I think probably one of the reasons why I've stuck with this project for this long. Yeah, no, I do really like how this is sort of shaping up. Let's get some rock over here to kind of like give it a nice border. Having some sort of texture on the edges really kind of sells the illusion and doesn't make it feel like this feels unfinished over here. This feels like, you know, it's your NES, your Game Boy, your, you know, not necessarily saying that it looks bad, but it looks like that sort of aesthetic where they're really trying to, they're using the squares is what I'm trying to say. And I'm trying to sort of break away from hard rectangular square shapes as much as possible with this. But honestly, playing games and watching videos of late NES games is one of the best ways to sort of get better at this kind of pixel art that I've found. Just seeing what they're able to do, like with such stringent limitations. Like, this is a fantasy console and it's got fake limitations, but real limitations, you know. There's so much creativity you can exercise when you're pushing against those restrictions. I look at games like Little Samson had just very, very pretty art for the NES. What are some other ones? Mario 3's a classic. I was playing on Switch Online Vice Project Doom a few months back. Man, that might have been like six or 7 months ago. And that game is incredible. It looks so good. There's so much stuff that really looks like it kind of was the foundation for what a lot of these indie games would be pushing for, 10, 20, 30 years later. Let's keep it like that. The thing I'm really trying to do is I'm trying to like break from the grid. Trying to not make it look like that is very obviously repeating tiles. This is like my favorite part of the actual process is the art side of things, the decoration. This is always the part that's way more fun than the actual level design part. Even in Mario Maker, I booted up Mario Maker on the Wii U a couple days ago and was looking at my old levels, and like the gameplay was atrocious, but the art was actually, there's some parts of that I'm like, I can see where I ended up sort of evolving that for Thwimbly. That looks bad. It looks better as it is. Definitely don't like that. I should not be decorating it this early, but the decoration is the fun part for me. So to keep me going and to keep from getting distracted and moving on, we'll just do a little bit of this. Put a big rock there, big rock there. I don't know how I feel about this one. It's a little plain. I like this rock fit texture a lot more. But maybe, well, you know what? We can play with it a little bit. Maybe we'll do something like that. Maybe that's the trick, actually, is making it a little bit less perfect. I do kind of dig that. That needs to be not connected. And this needs to be a little bit more rounded. I don't... Change it back. Change it back. I don't like the new diagonal lines. Okay, whatever. I'll come back to that later. Always getting caught up in the minutia. I don't need to be doing that. Let's see. Let's see. Okay, so we kind of finished this intro area. I'm pretty happy with it. I wish I had more. I wish I had like some sort of sapling type trees. I think that would make things kind of nice. But that would also require a new suite of branches and that kind of stuff. You know, I do like where that one is. Maybe we'll put one there. It'll still render behind the player. One thing I have been wanting to do is change these greens so they're not as neon green, or a little bit more in line with the sort of more drab olive green colors that we see here. And that would let me sort of mix them in as a foreground layer. If we look at World 1, you can see we've got this sort of, I screwed up the camera offset. I still need to fix that. That's why it moves slightly differently. But yeah, you can see that on stream. We've got these little tiny details of like a brighter color. Those are in the foreground. Those are using these yellowish orangish colors. It might be cool to mix in some reds, but do I need to add a bunch more draw calls? Probably not. That's probably actually going to make things worse. You know what? Since I'm here and since I'm thinking about it, where's the grass? We'll just add some tufts of grass here. Actually, you know what? Let's bring in a little bit more continuity with World 1. We can copy that fence tile. What colors do I want? You can get some of these little fences in here. Yeah, I think that helps, actually. I think that's really nice. And then yes. Yep, that's adding something. I might change these to be the darker two colors. But again, I'm getting sucked into the minutia. Huh. I still don't know what I'm going to put down there. There's 20 coins up there. Let's see how that feels. Normally when I'm doing a level reblock out, I don't play it that much. I try and like just get all the ideas onto paper, but yeah, that definitely reads as a thing. We can definitely see the top of this tree though. That needs to get changed. But that's good. That's good. Yeah, we'll do that, and then we can do that. And then we gotta add, these need to get fixed, so I can change how they render, because right now they'll be rendering as brick tiles. These are special tiles that basically mean that the player can't go up and over. Which will cause issues for reasons that I still have not been able to debug. It's been like several years, but somehow the player will like get stuck in this tile in the top, and they'll just go flying off into space. I don't know why. I don't know how. I've tried to debug it multiple times, and it always seems to have problems. So I guess I've kind of just given up at this point, and I'm designing around it. No, that's a cave. There should not be grass in there. Maybe some like moss and creepy little plants, but not mushrooms. Mushrooms are nice. Okay, so now we got to do the next part, which is what do we do with this mechanic? I do kind of like this. Yeah, I kind of like how that circles around. So maybe we'll do something like, we'll put this down here. We'll have, what I want is I want a challenge where the player almost has to like stealth past this plant, because there will be deadly carnivorous plants on the ceiling. So the player will have to sort of like get in front of it. Let's move this out so there's a little bit more of a gap between where the player interacts with this thing. Let's see. We'll do 2 of those. Take 2 of these. I do really like what the fences add. They make it feel like this is a more lived-in area, even if it's like scary and dilapidated and kind of abandoned. There was like sort of a presence here at some point, some sort of civilization. I don't know what I want to do up here. That's the ever-present problem with designing these levels, is I don't know what I actually want. Can do. Oh, I ran out of music. Really? How did I already run out of music? Okay, sure. We'll go all the way back to Heavens. I need to get a longer playlist. I was like, okay, we'll grab like the 3 albums that I know that I have downloaded, and we'll chuck them into a playlist. And then I was not planning ahead, but there's always next time. I'm having a bunch of fun streaming, so next time I should get the face cam set up. That'd be fun. Okay, what was I doing? So this guy is going to walk over here. The player has to jump in here. And they will get bounced. And this is sort of like this is a positive reinforcement of the mechanic. This is a negative reinforcement of the mechanic. You don't want to jump on this guy because it will launch you up into the plants and they will kill you. So Okay, it's kind of the lazy amount of decorating. I need to figure out what to do up here. We could either loop the player back around over here. You know what? Let's steal that tree. And we can do... And we'll do that. Do that. We'll have the tree fading off into nothingness. So we need to have something over here to prevent this plant from walking off the edge. So we'll do that. Copy that. I should make more breakcore. That's always fun. Should do an entire breakcore album. That would actually be fun. That doesn't sell as a tree trunk. That muddies that. Okay, so we'll give up on that for right now. What I want is... Hold on, how well does this sell if I connect... It just looks wrong. I was hoping they would kind of look like the tree had sprouted into a mushroom, but it did not. Okay, whatever, that's fine. This is going to be like an optional thing where the player just has to like make some kind of tricky jumps to get the thing. We'll do that. That should... Yeah, that should be tricky enough. Okay, so we'll grab this one. Man, I'm starting to feel sleepy. I guess that's what I get for staying up until very late doing level design. What do I want here? I want this, but I kind of want to keep this looking very optional because I have not taught the player that these platforms are safe yet. There's not been a situation where the player has been required to do something like that. We'll do that, we'll do that. That's the wrong one. I want the other one. One of the things that's probably the most frustrating about working in this kind of an environment, by this kind of environment, I mean the way that I have designed this tile set, is that everything is kind of disorganized. You've got like your main tiles up here, and then like all of this stuff is not in any sort of cohesive order because, I mean, this tile set dates back to 2021 and stuff keeps getting ripped out and reintroduced and deleted and brought back and all of that. So we can, yeah, that looks good. Actually, no. Let's do my old favorite where I like these kinds of falling away rock designs like this, because it lets you add texture and depth to this wall without adding a whole bunch of areas that the player can walk on. Really? Again? Just... Huh. I had such big plans when I added the music player to this stream layout, because I've never actually like streamed with a decent layout before. And of course there was going to be deployment problems. There's always deployment problems. Whenever you deploy something, there's always an unexpected outcome. You can think that it was solved as much as you want, but it actually never was. There's always something you missed. And there's almost certainly going to be some weird edge case bug that someone's going to discover the day that this game launches on Steam. And I'm going to be scrambling to fix it, because that's how it always goes. That's the nature of the beast. That's what you should expect. You should always expect to have something. Maybe we'll do this. So if the player just like blindly walks off, they'll get caught by this. And they'll be like, oh, I didn't realize that was a solid platform. And then that'll teach them for the next time they come back here. They'll be like, I can get back up here and I can collect those coins. I'm actually really happy with how those tiles turned out. They're very simple. They're very low color, but I think they really sell the vibe and aesthetic that I'm looking for. I need to put leaves somewhere. You know what? Yeah, let's just do that there. It's not going to matter what the tiles around there are too much, because they'll get covered up. They should at least be somewhat coherent. Maybe we'll do something like this. Or you know what? We'll do like a little rock one. Or we'll do that. I think I have enough to put one there. You know what? There's no reason to have that be like a one-way thing. We can loop this around. Because it's not like the player can get up here and skip learning this. The goal here with the everything here is that we'll do the double. We'll set this up so if the player wants to ignore the tooltip from Vina, they can just do that. They can say, no, I see the coins, I see the bounce thing. This looks like the flowers from World 1 that are totally safe. That's great. We'll bounce on this. Okay, awesome. It was safe. This is up here mostly to prevent them from like bounce doubling. They can, all of the velocities are additive in here, or at least most of them are. So if the player jumps before hitting this, it will add the velocities and they can like skyrocket out of here. And I don't want them to do that. So they're going to bonk their head here, but that's not going to hurt. It'll be fine. So we'll do that. Dun, dun, dun. Yes. Bam, bam. So that should cover that. This one will cover this, but I do need to make this a little bit taller. I didn't have enough room to make everything like actually sit consistently so that I have the long right facing branch. Yeah, I want to make those branches a little bit more distinct from each other because right now they are just mirrored and shaded, or they're not even shaded, slightly differently. What did I do? Those are supposed to be shaded slightly differently. Let's add the dark spot underneath to kind of make it look like that edges and shadow. I never know what to do with these these sorts of branches. Okay, we'll do one more. We'll do one more track and then probably call it here, because I need to figure out how. I just don't know where the loop button is on music because I usually don't use the built-in macOS music player. Yeah. I don't think you can make that jump. So what I'll do is I'll delete that. I'll move it down here. Yeah. Yes. Okay, so that can make there, that can make there. You can do that. We'll throw just like an extra 20 coin over there, and then I'll mess with this a little bit. We'll pull that out. All this blue means you're going to be able to see the sky through it. So hopefully it doesn't look like it's a tree growing in a cave, which I think is a perfectly cool vibe. I just don't necessarily know if that's the vibe for this right now. What was it doing? Coins. I don't know where those coins are going to render in front. No, they will because those are in the background. Okay, yeah, we're fine. Okay, yeah, honestly, I'm pretty happy with where this is going. Gotta sell the depth here. Yeah, this needs to get beautified with like texture and stuff, but we'll steal this. No, we'll keep that because that wall actually kind of looks half decent. There's no way to get back up here. Everything else is reversible, so I need to add another platform over there. This is too much, too many dots. That's the wrong tile. I don't know, I just like grabbing prefabs and like using them to sort of like block out the shapes, because Tick doesn't have a rectangle tool. It's got like a rectangle select, but at best you can just like copy paste chunks. So, yeah. Dun. Okay. We'll go the last few minutes of the stream without music because I don't have 1 2 1 2. Okay, so that keeps the things consistent. That works. That should cover that, or at least that should cover that. Yeah. Okay. Not bad for an hour of work. We got a few new tiles made. Most of this first like quarter of the level, I'm pretty happy with it. We need to put something up here. But yeah, this is feeling good. This is feeling like kind of how I wanted this to feel. So, Yeah. Well, anyhow, thank you all so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this sort of experimental stream. I haven't streamed in several years, but I had a lot of fun doing it. I probably will keep doing this. Need to figure out how to make the music loop and probably bolster the stream playlist with more than like 20 songs. But yeah. So, anyways, thank you all so much for watching. Have a great rest of your day. Bye bye.